Welcome to the Modern Insurance Agents Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about the Insurance Agent Survival Guide for 2025. What's in and what's out. Welcome to the Modern Insurance Agent Podcast.
We're your hosts, David and Elle Denning.
What happens when a millennial couple dives headfirst into the insurance world, scales $1 million remote business, and decides to share the journey with the world?
You get the Modern Insurance Agent.
Here, we reveal the messy, magical, and sometimes hilarious realities of building a business and a life you love.
From traveling the globe to building remote teams. Yes, even working remotely on top of a mountain in the Philippines. We're sharing insights, strategies, and plenty of laughs to help agents and entrepreneurs succeed.
Because let's face it, success isn't just about hitting numbers.
It's about designing a life that works for you.
So let's dive in and build something extraordinary together. The insurance industry is evolving fast. The strategies that worked last year, most are already outdated. So join us now as we talk about what's in and what's out. So what you need to do to stay ahead for 2025. But first, Elle, where can they go to get resources to grow and scale their insurance businesses?
Head on over to jumpstartgonow.com/podcast to get all of the resources mentioned in this podcast. And we've put together your very own marketing survival guide. So you can download that there. Again, that's jumpstartgonow.com/podcast.
Marketing survival guide. What does that get? Like a hatchet and some band-aids and some matches and stuff like that? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe
agents that want to hack their way through their marketing.
Like most agents, right? Let's be honest, guys. You guys are here because you don't want to be hacking your way through marketing. You guys want to know the answers and skip past that. So thanks for joining us. So today we're going to be talking about outdated strategies agents need to ditch immediately, the top marketing and sales methods that are working right now, as well as what successful agents are doing to grow faster than ever. So Elle, let's talk about, let's start off what's out. What's out for 2025? What do people need to take off their plates, throw in the dumpster? Thank you very much, 2024, but not into 25 for these things, right? And let's talk about why they're hurting. It's hurting agents as well. So
what's out in 2025 is cold calling and outdated scripts. People are so much more guarded, so much more skeptical than they have ever been. We also have more access to information than we've ever had in the past. And so people really don't want to be cold called. They don't want to talk to people on the phone. The buying habits have really changed. So why is this practice something that we continue doing so much and pushing so hard with cold calling and using like very pressury scripts?
I think it's because it feels like a system. It feels like something, well, if we do enough of it, then something might come out of it. And in the past, if I go back far enough, it worked. So, just keep doing it till it literally doesn't work anymore versus every once in a while something coming through. So I feel like in a lot of places, like people just don't want to adapt or change, maybe because they feel it's risky. Maybe they feel like, stick with the devil, versus something unknown. Or maybe it's even coming down from the top of like, hey, this is the way we always do things. We don't change things. And if that's where you're at, or that's what, you're getting told, listen, the best things come from change. Can you only imagine if people, still rode their horses around trying to get to work instead of driving a car?
I'd be okay riding a horse.
I know
to
you
work
would.
Every day.
For those who don't know, Elle's an equestrian. She likes riding horses. But if you have to ride the horse 60 miles, would you still like to ride into work in the rain?
Why do we have to introduce the rain into this scenario?
I just made it more realistic here, right? So anyways, that's the thing. It feels like something, okay, cool. It's a process. We can have people do it. Especially if it's like cold calling, then yeah, it's cheap or the free. And like, here's the same script from 40 years ago or ever,
Yeah.
it needs to get updated, right?
Yeah. And also we've talked about too, how it can be pretty risky these days to just be straight up cold calling people. And definitely want to, if you are cold calling, what you're talking about, alternatives to cold calling, but definitely want to make sure you're not like calling people that are on the do not call list, or especially people if they're like known litigators, people that are out there to sue you. There's a lot of people out there that are just waiting to get a phone call from you so that they can sue and take you to court. So I feel like it's almost going to like become the modern day not hit and run. What is it when people get into car accidents? Ambulance chasers.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah, these cold callers for insurance are gonna be on TV. Bad boys, what you gonna do? And they're cold calling. Yeah, I'm risking it here. So yeah, don't be the bad boys potentially getting fined or losing your insurance business. It's not worth it anymore, and it's just getting easier and easier to prosecute. So protect yourselves, and also like, is it even really worth it? Because you're not going to get a ton of results out of it anyway. So I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
So,
and I feel like to truly convert anything off of like outbound dialing, that's this like cold call approach, you just have to do so much volume of it because people aren't answering the phones, and because they're pretty annoyed and frustrated if they do.
yeah. So guys, go ahead. That's out. It's out for 2025. Put in the trash can.
Okay.
Done. Okay. Let's talk about the next thing that's out, and that's paid leads, especially without a strategy. So what do I mean by that? So paid leads, if anything, I like to look at trends, because then we can make decisions, and heck, we can maybe even get ahead of the curve, which is even better, right? And so if we're looking at trends of paid leads over the years, I don't care if it's Google ads, Facebook ads, whatever, the prices continue to go up and up and up. It's kind of like inflation. We get hit for the cost of things, including our ads, right? And so the cost is going up and up. And that would be one thing if, conversions were also going up or at least staying the same, but conversions are going down, right? It's getting harder and harder to even get in contact with these leads. They're getting oversold, so they're getting shared as vendors like, well, I can make more money if I just sell this to multiple people, right? And now I'm competing against a whole bunch of people that are tired of getting calls in the first place. And then you got to look at the actual buying habits of people. No one likes getting calls out of the blue and numbers they don't recognize. You get down to millennials, Gen Zs, they don't want to answer it for their friends. Like, they're definitely not going to answer it for you. And this just leads to agents getting frustrated listening to a dial tone all day, or getting hung up on, cussed out, not interested, or I'm not even qualified, even if I am interested. And that doesn't help anybody. So with prices going up, contact rates going down, this getting sold over and over again, and just with and just with them like not converting, like the conversion rates dropping too, it just financially doesn't even make as much sense in most cases. I'm not going to be hardcore. There's no benefit at all ever to paid leads, but you got to have a strategy, and you got to know that it's getting to be a tougher and tougher battle on that side.
Yeah, and I think it's important to also realize like that ads, like paid ads and a paid marketing strategy, can be very, very beneficial. And I think the key here is the not having the strategy part. So you're just working paid leads. You don't really know how the lead was generated. And then you have no process to really nurture the lead, to add value to the prospect. And you have an expectation that people are just going to buy from you without knowing you. It's not how people are buying in 2025. People like to know the brands, the people. They like to build that trust over time, being a little bit of like lurkers, doing their own research, that kind of stuff before they're ready for a phone call.
And here's the thing. I think a lot of people like to paint us as like anti-lead, or we're not anti-lead, but I think we're anti like lazy leads.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
Anti inefficient and ineffective leads, right? So I think it's always been never been a metric that I think is valuable too much at all, as a cost per lead, right? And I think agents want to get the leads the cheapest they can, but also want the most qualified, ready to buy as possible. And those things don't necessarily go together. And also like it takes work to probably get these leads to the point where this makes a lot of sense. Like I want them to be higher quality, more qualified. That means I need to take additional steps than just click form filled out with a couple pieces of info. Hey, it's super qualified. That's not the case, right? And so that means it's probably going to cost me more to generate the leads. But if the quality is high, I'm converting them, the ROI is there, then it's still worth it. And so that is where we're anti-lazy leads, right? We're anti like spending a lot of time on stuff that's basically just a number versus, yeah, there's things you can do to enrich and enhance those leads, how familiar they are with you, the nurture, the indoctrination, the contact rate, all those things. It's just going to cost more, but hey, at the end of the day, you're not wasting time dialing and, hating your life. So, that's, I think, the perspective.
Yeah. And just relying on like dialing alone, or even like texting and dialing alone. And this is really where I wish people would treat the list that they're building. If you're buying leads, that's a list of emails and phone numbers, and really treating that whole list like an asset. So and social media can be something that you're using to what we call nurture your leads and warm them up. So if you're not putting content out on social media, it's a huge disadvantage, because I think a lot of people think, oh, like social media is a lead gen strategy, which it can totally be, but it can also be a lead nurture strategy. If you're paying for leads and you're buying them and you're just relying on grinding on the phones and dialing, and maybe you're sending a text, maybe you're sending an email, you have a whole opportunity to create valuable content on social media and send the link to your content to your email list. Like there's a whole list of emails that you could be sending. There's a whole text message list that you could be doing blast text to, again, compliantly. That's a separate podcast. We've talked about that. And if you're not driving traffic to your socials, you're really missing out on a huge opportunity to nurture and connect with your leads in a unique way, and also to stand out. People aren't doing this with paid leads, and it's any marketer knows that you can't just generate the lead and expect somebody to buy. You have to have this process called lead nurture that warms them up in this process in between. So not that paid leads are bad, anything like that, but paid leads without a strategy is bad, definitely outdated. And you're just going to be doing tons of grinding on the phone without a strategy in place to actually convert those leads into sales. And it should include something on social media to help you warm up those leads and ultimately build trust and rapport with them.
And I want to harp on that a little bit more, because I think it makes an important point of, once again, not a lazy process either, right? So many agents, and not to be fair for them, how they're kind of taught as well, want to look at leads as hey, cool, you ready to buy right now? You're ready to buy right now? When over 90% are not ready to buy at any given time until the next day, next week, next month, 6 months down the line. They're just looking for that quick 10% that convert. And let's be honest, they're never really going to go back to the other 90. They just like the quick, effective, they're buying new leads each day, each week, trying to get to that 10%. In the meantime, 90% of that potential revenue sales is just falling through the cracks and wasted, essentially, right? And also, like, a lot of people, it's not like, I don't know who you are, you just called me, I'm ready to buy right now. Like, that doesn't really happen. Like, trust and the buying cycles have changed a little bit too. And so that ability to nurture and actually have a full process from a zoomed out perspective of, hey, I'm going to contact them, I'm going to get them, or I will nurture them to the point where they convert. A lot of people have that, once again, we've talked about on previous podcasts, the buy or die mentality, but that seems to only apply to calling and trying to get them on the phone, not to the, hey, if they're not buying right now, let me nurture them, staying in front of them, build trust and rapport, and then convert them down the road, which is a more effective mentality towards that. So take a more holistic view to your marketing and how I'm reaching out, how I'm connecting, how I'm nurturing, and you'll get better results and more profitability out of everything you're doing as well. So stop the kind of lazy, pick up the phone, hit the same person 8 times, maybe send them a couple texts, and actually let's move into ways we can actually nurture and build trust where people are just constantly dropping through to us. So
yeah, I love it.
Cool.
What else is out for 2025?
Transactional sales mindset is out. said it at that right time. So Elle, what is transactional sales mindset?
Yeah, as we're talking about this, with the idea of lead nurture, and the way that buying habits have definitely changed, and that people really value connection and they want to feel connected to you. And I almost think that like connection, relationship building, that's like the opposite of transactional. And I do think like in the past, and I even think some, still today, like there are people that are having success with very high pressure transactional approaches. But I would say overall, people are moving towards really wanting to feel understood, feeling like they're connecting with people. And that's ultimately how they're determining whether or not they're going to move forward and buy. Do I like the person on the other side of the phone? Do I like what I see from them on social media? Do I feel understood? I had a client today that I met with, and I asked him to give us a little bit of feedback about how it's going so far in the program. And he gave us a 5 out of 5. And he said, he's like, I've been in sales and in this industry for over 20 years. And he has a lot of knowledge, has a lot of experience. And he says, but one of the things that really stood out about how you guys work is that you're not transactional, that it feels like a really good fit working with you. He even mentioned, he's like, I love that you guys are kind of goofy and have this kind of goofy vibe. And I loved that he said that it felt like a fit for him. He was like, it was a super low pressure, or he didn't even say pressure. He was like, it was a no pressure sale. I just felt like I connected with you. And what our marketing does and how we come across is very intentional. We want people to feel like they can talk to us, that they can have conversations with us, like they know us before they get on the phones, because it makes it feel so much more natural. And like they have that connection, they have that friend. And I think more and more we're going to see that high pressure sales approach eventually just fizzle out and die, because it's going to be the complete opposite of what people are actually looking for.
Yeah, it'll become a turnoff. I mean, it already is for a lot of people. And maybe it's cyclical. Maybe because if we go back,
it's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, if we go back, sales were always done through relationships and connections and shaking hands, talking to people, trust, pillars of the community. And then this transactional nature came about of like, oh, that can just hit people on the phone and they're not used to getting called and it's something they need.
Right.
Cool. And that worked for a long time until it became overhit. They always say marketers ruin everything. It may be true. And people are like, well, let's just do an infinite amount of this. And then more and more spam, more and more calls, okay, this is getting old. You're calling during dinner or whatever. And to where people, that became a turnoff to now it's like, man, I'd rather trust someone and talk to someone on the relationship side, which is now coming in. But maybe as that becomes more in, the hard pressure sales and that sort of stuff dies out, then maybe way down the line in the future, people are like, nah, I just wish people would hit me up again, right? So and just get straight to pitching me the deal.
That could
right?
be.
Like, stop, I don't want to date you for 6 months before buying your product. Sell it to me right now. Maybe they'll come back. And I look forward to that day. But in the meantime, relationships is back where it's out. Has been trending that way for a long time. And so let's look back to how stuff used to be done with the relationships, but just move it into modern technology, modern ways of connecting and building these, like social media, versus driving all over the town trying to, find people and talk to them, right? So that transactional sales mindset is definitely shifted to becoming more relational. But at the end of the day, like, what as business owners, where we also look for? We look for what also makes most sense when it comes to the numbers and financials and stuff too. And relationships have always been profitable. So the more I have deep relationships with my prospects, converting more to sales, easier sales because of that, and the more they stay my clients and are happier because I'm doing great customer service and touch points, and relationship continue building even after they're my clients. And that means they have higher persistency. They stay my clients. I get more renewals, less chargebacks. It means that I also get more referrals. So I get even more business coming in. It just makes financial sense as well to focus on the relationship side versus transactional. I focus transactional, I have to do twice as much work to keep and maintain the same amount of clients and income. That doesn't make any sense, right? Like, that's where I do encourage you to be lazy. Do the thing that's easier, takes less work, and is more financially beneficial, and try to work twice as hard, losing people out of the back end because I don't even think that agent knew my name. He barely asked me anything, just sold me something. I don't even understand what I got. They're not keeping that. So
yeah, it's so true. What else is out for 2025?
Cookie cutter social media posts. They are out. I don't even know that they ever were in the first place, but they're definitely out. So
no, they were. Well, I think what people are still using and what they think is social media marketing is what worked 10 years ago on social media.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, if you go back far enough, but in recent times, it still hasn't been anything effective in recent times. I'm talking about hearsay social, things like this, where it's like this life happens. Listen, I love the content ideas that they're doing there, but in reality, they're, it's trying to position as something easy agents can post that's going to help them. In reality, it doesn't do anything, right? These very sanitized posts, they're not personal. You see the same agents posting the same things. No one stops and reads any of that stuff. They can tell what something's interesting and something they should pay attention to, and what something is just garbage that they're scrolling past. And it doesn't mean what's being talked about in these posts isn't valuable, or what's being mentioned or discussed. All that's still great info. It just needs to come from you. It needs to come from the agent. It needs to come from a little video you made, or a fun way to communicate it. Maybe a skit that you communicate the same thing. But these standard grab and plug and play type posts, they don't do anything. And so agents really need to move away from that to creating their own content, stuff that's branded around their brand, them, building trust and rapport with them and their agency, versus, hey, let me stick this cookie cutter post
I want to clarify something here, because you said branded. And I think for a lot of people, they're going to think, oh, my logo and my colors, but that's not actually what you mean when you say brand. What do you mean when you say brand?
When I say brand, I mean you. I mean, your personality, the way you come across, and the way that you talk and communicate with clients and prospects, and what's important to you, everything a part of that. That's more important to branding than any sort of logo or colors. Like, I want it to be representative of me versus some generic piece of content with the logo of a carrier, an IMO, something like that on it. Like, that's not going to do anything. That has nothing to do with me. That doesn't help me at all. If anything, it just helps whatever's in the image versus me, which, once again, if I'm going to do the marketing, I'm going to take the time and effort. I want it to be beneficial.
Yeah. And video content. If you're not doing video content in 2025, then you're behind. Like, get on video right away. Do it now. Stop listening to this podcast. Go record a video.
Well, you might be starting to give away some things that are actually in for 2025. So just so you know. So we'll tell you. Elle's very excited about that, right? Obviously we don't think very highly of video at all, because we're sitting here on video right now.
I think, okay, so we'll just have a little moment here of like our whole podcast studio. There's a vibe and a visual that is associated with this that is intentional. And when we're thinking about branding, this is what we mean when we say branding. It's what we're talking about, how we're talking about it. It's what you see on video. We're not talking about like getting into Canva and creating all of these like pretty graphics. Like, do not do that. That is not a good use of your time. Like, stop using hearsay social. Stop with the life happens. Stop going into Canva and fiddling around with your brand colors, and start using video content instead. Because all of that stuff that's like graphics it's out. It's dated. It's not working. So immediately take that off of your list if you had that on your plans for 2025, and we're going to talk about what you can do instead.
Yeah, and that goes for also sharing other content, right? Like, I want content information to come from me. If I found a blog article that's very informative, rather than sharing that blog article, I would rather me hop on a video. Hey, I read this article and this is some of the stuff it talked about. And I can always do a call to action. If you want a copy of it, drop a me below. It's going to be way more effective than me clicking the share button on that, right? So once again, wanting content to come from you And that's really important. And like I said, we can brand ourselves even more. We got some Nerf guns and lightsabers in the other room. I have to start bringing those to some podcasts. They fit in with our vibe and what we're doing here anyway. So if you guys want to come down to the office of St. Pete and you guys want to have a Nerf battle and then talk about insurance and social media, come on down, guys. So, all right. So, Elle, besides cookie cutter social media posts, what else is out right now?
Neglecting your personal brand. So hiding.
You really did hop into the next thing, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I jumped ahead, but hiding behind a logo, hiding behind your branding as a company or an organization, like this is what we talked about before as far as the transactional approach. People want to do business with people. They want to do business with people that they also feel connected to, that they have aligned values with. And this is how people are, business owners are, and businesses are getting attention, is by branding themselves, allowing their values, their personalities to come through on their content. So just creating, again, sanitized content, hiding behind a logo or a company name is not going to differentiate you. It's not going to gain interest, and you're not going to get eyeballs on your stuff. So it's time to put some attention towards that personal brand in 2025 if you haven't been.
All right. Last thing that's out for 2025 we're covering right now is doing it all yourself, guys. Listen, you don't have to anymore. There is no reason we can't delegate, we can't automate, and we can't invest in systems and people, right? Like that's just leads to being burned out, feeling like I just don't have any more time in the day. I'm maxed out. Even if things are going well, I can only do so much in a day also, right? And so this doesn't mean I got to go hire a bunch of agents and build a giant team, but I do want to maximize time and effort. And honestly, who really got into this anyways to work 48 hours every single day, right? That no one is really doing that. No one can do that sustainably anyways, except for maybe like Gary Vee or something like that. But outside of that, right? So with that said, that's where if you find yourself wearing all the hats, doing all the things, we got to look at ways to free up time. And part of that can definitely be done through applying some automation to your business, using systems and software. AI is one of the biggest ways to leverage that. And then even help like virtual assistants.
Yeah. I think it goes back to sometimes mindset a little bit of like, oh, I'm just going to do it myself, or it takes more time to set these things up, or to learn something new so that I can delegate it to somebody else. Like all of that is, I don't know if that's ever been in at any point in time to try to do it all yourself, but
I don't know that it's been in, but it's been glamorized. It's been like, oh, that hustle, that grind. If you're not working every single hour, every single day, and like grinding yourself into the dirt and then doing it again, like, you know, you got in a car accident, you should be at work and calling another 500 numbers. Like, that's no excuse, right? Like, that's been somehow the hustle culture got glamorized, but that just led to burnout and that not really a very short-sighted focus as well. Because once again, coming down to numbers, right? If I could do twice as much, and actually it makes it even easier on me, like time-wise and personally, then I can do more production. I can do more income. There's a reason there's top companies out there full of people. It's not one person doing all those things. It's because you can't by yourself. So I think that's where stop the very short-sighted, well, I'm saving some money, I'm doing it myself, and like, you know, and realize, oh, well, even if I had like a virtual assistant that lets me do twice the amount of sales a day as I normally do, I'm insanely more profitable. So I think people really need to look at it from a kind of little zoomed out perspective.
Agreed. All right. We've talked about what is out in 2025. David, what should agents be doing, not just to survive, but to thrive in 2025? Ooh, that came out good.
It's good. You rhymed. All right. So with that, building an authentic personal brand. I think Elle jumped the gun a little bit on this.
I like to talk about it. Okay?
I know we do. We do like to talk about it because it's that important. I mean, never in history have we had the opportunity as much as now to build that sort of personal brand. Like we can hop on social, we can have people know who we are, we can get in front of them, we can have people like be familiar with our content, be on video, where in the past, yeah, I would have spent thousands and thousands to be on radio or TV or buy a bunch of billboards or, bus benches and stuff like that for people to see me and get to know who I am. Right. And so that's a really powerful thing that everybody has access to today. And even for free, is building that personal brand.
Yeah, totally. And it's so powerful, again, for breaking down barriers with people that are brand new to you and in your ecosystem. I know I've already talked about this, but I just really can't emphasize this enough as far as, yes, it is good for your lead generation to build a strong personal brand, but it's even better for that season in between, as somebody's making that decision, if they're going to work with you, if they're going to buy from you. That personal brand is really what's going to differentiate you and ultimately help them make that decision in that low pressure way. So really thinking about when it comes to personal branding, I also think that people might get a little bit stuck and a little bit overwhelmed in what that means, but it's pretty easy to get started. Just call one or two of your friends, have a conversation with them and ask them, if you could pick 3 words to describe me, what would those 3 words be? Like, how would you describe me? And they probably are going to give you some good answers too. That might make you feel pretty good about yourself.
Depends on the friend.
Well, hopefully it's a good friend.
You haven't been friends with guys then, right? You're my good friend. Probably going to be the worst 3 words, right? So
would you call a friend and say like, hey, I'm doing some like research for my marketing. If you could give me 3 words to describe my personality, what would those 3 words be? Would a guy do that?
I mean, if it's a good friend that's an entrepreneur, I think that would go over well. If your other buddy, like, well, you suck at Call of Duty, and you're, yeah.
That's not a word to describe you, though.
Yeah, they'd probably say it anyway. So, anyways, but yes, pull people, pull it together as far as what they take away from that, because the key point, I think, with this is authenticity. Like, people buy from people, not faceless entities, but the authenticity I think is key too, especially when it comes in to like social media and things. Like, authenticity does very well on social media. Like, being you, not putting on a facade. People are tired of that. I think for a while on social, it was all about, let's see who's living the perfect life, what's all going on. And then people are like, man, that's not real. We know it's not real. And now people like it when people share mistakes, lessons learned, what's going on, challenges they're facing, because that's more real. That's what they realize. I go through that too, right? And so authenticity and being you goes a long ways. But in reality, it also not only attracts who you want to attract and who you want to work with and clients, but it repels those that, like, listen, I don't want anything to do with those people. Those are not my target audience. Don't come talk to me. Or they wouldn't, whether it's just not fits for my products or just jerks, right? I like to repel jerks. Stay away. So, but yes, authenticity plays well on social media.
Yeah. So just starting to think about like how you want that brand to come across and things about your personality. The cool thing about personal branding is it's already you, it's not like you have to really do anything different than you're already doing. It's just kind of thinking about what makes you you, what are the values that are important to you, and how do you want that to come across on social media, and then starting to do it. So actually creating content, it's never going to be perfect, never going to be 100% right, but every single piece of content that you shoot is an opportunity to continue to define that brand and refine it over and over and over again. Because your first piece of content is definitely not going to look like your content 2, 3, 4 years from now. So just don't let the idea of personal branding keep you too stuck from keeping you of actually recording content and starting to connect with your audience.
Love it. Elle, what is also in for 2025 so agents can thrive? I wanted to rhyme too.
Well, you also gave this one away already a little bit.
Okay, but... Fair enough. Fair enough. That one's on me. Okay.
Okay, so we talked about personal branding, and this just leads into this. So authentic connection is in for 2025. Your audience wants to engage with you in a real way. So it's not just about the content that you're putting out, but it's actually being social on social media. What a shocker. And engaging with your audience. That means being in the comments, being in the direct messages. I can't tell you how many profiles or content pieces that I review with clients, and I'll pull something up and I'm like, you've got 20 people that have commented on this post here, and there's not a single response from you responding back to your audience and interacting with them.
To be fair, there's agents that got leads sitting on their desk that they've never called either.
That
So it makes sense,
true.
right? It
This
makes
is true.
sense.
This is true. You make a valid point here, David.
But I don't think it's so much that they don't want the opportunities, especially on the social media side. They might understand that engagement, that comments, the stuff, those are opportunities to go take advantage of, may just not realize it.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, just thinking about social media, it is social. It would be like walking into a room and announcing like, hi, I'm Elle. This is what I do. And then just standing there, even if people are like coming up to you, introducing themselves, and they're like want to put their hand out and shake your hand, and then you just don't shake their hand back. Or they're like, you're up here giving them a high five, and you don't high five them back. That's essentially what you're doing on social media.
That's
when
so
you're
awkward.
not
I cringe just thinking about that, right? Yeah.
Be social. We do it in real life all of the time, but for some reason when we get on social media, we clam up, we don't interact, we don't engage. And honestly, it's that interaction and that engagement is going to be the number one driver that ultimately helps increase the views on your content, helps you get more reach and get in front of more people. And again, it goes back to that, not just being transactional, you're being conversational, you're being authentic, and you're being genuine, that you authentically want to connect with your audience.
The real connection and engagement is key. Like, and that's where, yeah, I'm coming in with, some stories. I'm connecting with people, and I'm going to get some sort of response, right? And I think that's where people think social media for some reason magically stops. Like, oh, I'm posting, someone liked it, someone commented, I'm crushing it. It's like, well, okay, what's turning into sales, appointments, and deals? Like, because that's why you're doing this in the first place. It's not just because you enjoy social. And they're like, oh, yeah, I haven't really got any sales or results from that or ever. And I think that's where they don't realize that's only the first half. The second half is I've got to respond and move these into conversations, appointments, connections, relationships, referral partners from this, right? So it's not just posting social and getting comments and views. Like, that's nice, but doesn't mean anything unless stuff's happening. We can call that kind of vanity metrics unless I'm actually moving it into something that's pulling deals and stuff across. It's great for large corporations for brand awareness. They're happy to spend, just people know they exist. But you as an agent or agency owner, you guys want deals, you guys want customers, you guys want referrals, and that takes the second half of that. So if you're getting comments, respond to them, ask them more questions, move it into a DM, engage with your audience, be personal, tell stories, do content about you, about your day, about those you interact with, people you've helped. Bring all of this in there, and your content will be much more effective.
I love it. All right. What's also in for 2025? Maybe the thing that I am most excited about.
I'm letting you say this one because you love it.
AI powered efficiency, AI powered content, the introduction of AI to our lives and how it's going to massively change everything for all of us forever. If you are not using AI right now, like, go sign up for ChatGPT right now, download it on your phone immediately. So if you didn't stop listening to the podcast, I shouldn't tell people to stop listening, I guess. But if
pause it, download it, come back. Okay, how about that?
If you
Is that
didn't
better?
stop earlier to go create your content, and you don't have ChatGPT on your phone, make sure you go do that right now. It's more important than listening to what we have to say next. Or is it? But it probably is. But seriously, AI is changing the game. We have just personally ourselves, like I feel like a superhuman in how much I am able to produce as far as content goes, ideas go. Like we are on the cusp of an explosion of not only information but also content, really, because it's getting easier and easier to create content with AI. And so really there's no reason that you couldn't just go spin up a video script right now and go record it and post that on social media. But it's it's literally changed. It will change, and it already has changed the way that we live our lives and we interact, which also means it's going to change how we sell, how we market, every single aspect of business. And probably 4 or 5 years from now, so when we get to 2030, if you don't know this tool of using AI, you will not be in business. That's just the reality of what we're looking at. If you don't know how to use AI, if you're not already studying it and studying the implications for you and what it means in your business, you're going to be left behind and you will not have a business 5 years from now. So this efficiency that it allows you to do in follow-ups and content creation specifically is what we've been able to really help our clients with so much, so that they can be more consistent with their social media, that they can train AI to sound like them, to create content in their voice, and also to put endless ideas right at their fingertips. There's no reason why you're not building a personal brand and creating content in 2025.
I love it. I think you're a little generous on the amount of time. It'd probably be less than 4 or 5 years, right? Technology is moving faster and faster. Honestly, I don't think it's going to be 4 or 5 years where if you can't work AI, you're basically out of a job. So definitely take the time to learn it. It's interesting because technology doesn't like eliminate people. It's always a tool, right? And so when things come about, it's the people that learn how to use and leverage that tool that do quite well, where a lot of people just want to, sky is falling, automation's going to put us all out of our jobs. They said the same thing with factory, but it just led to other opportunities and jobs, right? The interesting thing with AI, I think, is becoming less about internally just having all this knowledge, because knowledge is now easy to get or grab. And it becomes more of like how to get to that knowledge and how to most effectively use and leverage and how to operate things. Like the people that know how to do really good prompts and can think of the use cases of using AI and putting that in place are doing way better than the people that, have all the calculus memorized or whatever I've got a calculator. Sorry, I beat you out. I'm going to win any day typing in the calculator versus you thinking it. So it really does become more about who can use technology and leverage it the best, more so than just who has the most knowledge. So really think about that. It's weird that we're in a time of history where it's not who has the most knowledge or they're the smartest person. Go talk to them, versus who knows how to leverage and use technology the best. They're gonna win, and they become the people that people look up to, or whether for good or for bad. But all these technology, wizards, or I don't know, it seems like wizards, people who don't know how to do it, right? So once again, be on the cutting edge, or at least the forefront, or an early adopter. Don't be the one that's just trying to learn last minute to stay in the game. So
yeah, for sure. So I love what you said about AI, as far as it's more about being able to understand and use the tool. It's not just the information itself. And last night, actually, you were developing a training for clients, and you were using ChatGPT to help you. And the first iteration of it, you were like, "That's crap. I'm scratching
it's
that.
Garbage." I just like so bad. I was like, I don't like this. It's not give me what I want. But does that mean I just scrapped it and say AI is crap? No, I gave it feedback. I told it what I needed. I told it what was wrong. I told it what I wanted, and I got an infinitely better result that was actually excellent. I ran the training today. It was a great training, if I do say so. I might be a little biased, but I think it was really good and really received. Got really good feedback on it, and I think they really found it very helpful how they applied it to growing their insurance businesses. But that's because I knew how to operate and give it feedback. And I say that Elle's way better at that than me, but I'm learning. Elle's asked me when I become AI powered, and so it's probably just a few years down the road. So yeah,
I have not asked you that.
she's thinking it. So.
All right, David, what else is in for 2025?
Referral-based business growth, baby. Like it's honestly been here anyways, but it's even more powerful this year. Once again, as people get less trustful, more distrustful, as like there's just a prevalence of getting hit constantly with messages, or just the prevalence of all the social media content and stuff like that. Like it becomes important. Like honestly, I don't even want to take the time or effort, or you know what, it's just easier for who do you trust, who do you use, that referrals become more and more important today. Like it's, I don't want to go do a million hours of research. I don't want to cut through all the noise. I want to know who is good and who can I just go to and solve my problem, have a solution for me, and who's trustworthy. And right. And I think that's, once again, I think this stuff is cyclical, because that used to also be how everything was done in the past. And so now it's back. And so building referral relationships just makes sense, is powerful today. And like I've been talking about other things, also makes financial sense. I got referral partners send me a bunch of free referrals that are ready to convert. I'm infinitely profitable. Like, right. At this point, might as well, start buying countries at this point, right? If I got all these referrals coming in. So it makes sense. Like and I was talking about this today on training, like rather than go fight for every single client and prospect and trying to find one at a time, if I'm building out referral relationships, I can get 10, 20, 50, 100, thousands of clients at a time. And that seems like a really good use of time to me.
Absolutely. So relationships are in. This is what I'm hearing for 2025. What else is in for 2025?
Community visibility and influence, I would say. Like, and with the rise of technology and the things we're talking about, we're not talking about eliminating your local and community there. I think that's very powerful. I think I should own my local market still, but I just have the opportunity to go way beyond and above that. And so I think it just gives me more options this year to make sure I'm leveraging these things to be more effective in my community, my audience, and learning how technology and social blends into that to allow me to be more effective as well. Like we have clients that do videos on social, which you think go out to the universe of mystical virtual land, but then they go to something in person and people are like, I know you, I've seen you, I love your stuff, I'm ready to talk and do business with you. And you're like, I've never seen this person before, but they saw my content, they saw me, I've built trust with them, even it's intentionally, but not directly, right? And so I think more and more people learn they can use and leverage this in a powerful way locally, that it's really, really effective. And maybe that's even me with the strategic referral partners and businesses using social to give shout outs and start building relationships with them. So now as I approach them even in person, I've already built up some goodwill there.
I love it. Yes. And I love the local approach, but also want to encourage you to think about social media as these little pockets of people, not even little. I mean, Facebook groups, we love Facebook because of the community-based aspect on Facebook, but also think about your target market. Who are they following on social media? Who are the influencers that they're following? If you open up the comments, you will see people that are the same people commenting on certain influencers' posts. That's a community. That influencer has built an audience and a following, and there are people that are interacting in the comments. So also not just your local, but thinking about finding kind of these pockets online of where your target audience is spending time. And again, it goes back to what we talked about earlier, engaging with people in comments. It all wraps up into that community relationship feel, which is ultimately insurance is a business of relationships. And when we're talking about these things that are in for 2025, we're not getting away from that. We're actually doubling down on the things that have worked for a very, very long time in this space and in the insurance industry. All right, here's what else is in for 2025 is nurture-based lead strategy. We've talked about this already with the
Yep.
paid lead strategy. Running ads, having a paid lead strategy without really having that nurture component into it is just like taking your money and lighting it on fire, in my opinion, and grinding your soul into the ground, trying to just get people on the phone. You have to have a social media component. You have to have emails that are going out consistently to your leads and to your prospects, text messages that are going out. And it's not just like, hey, ready to book a call, or, hey, are you, maybe like a tiny little fact about mortgage protection, ready to book a call? Hey, are you ready to book a call yet? Hey, like, when's a good time to connect? Like, that's not nurture. That is badgering people. So when we think about nurture, we want to think about how can we add value, and we talk about this a lot in marketing, call to action. So you asking somebody, when's a good time to connect? Here's my link to book a call, all of that stuff. That's call to action. You're asking them to do something. Your nurture piece needs to add value to them in some way, pique curiosity, add education to them in some way. A lead nurture is also just checking in on people. If like there was a bunch of hurricane winds and bad storms that happened in Texas just a couple of weeks ago, I think they had some massive storms. So if I'm an agent and I've got leads in Texas, you better believe I'm texting those leads. Hey, how is everything? You guys okay with the storms?
Actually caring about your clients and your audience. I know, crazy, right? It goes a long way, guys, especially when nobody else does that. So
checking in, texting on that kind of level, but also thinking about how you can bring your social media content to your leads through texting and email is huge. So if you're posting on social, if you're doing videos about mortgage protection or policies on looking at your auto policy and maybe spotting red flags with your auto policy or any policy, what homeowners should be looking at for their policies, again, in Texas, those types of things. If you're putting out content like that on social, text it to your leads, email it to your leads. Hey, I just put this video together. I thought of you. I thought this might be helpful for you. Here's the link to check it out.
Love it. Love it. All right. What's also in is hybrid automation plus the human touch. We're combining these things two together, right? So they're both important, but one is not as good as both of them together, right? So can we talk a little bit about the tech plus being human? How do we put these things together?
Yeah. So, I mean, it would be awesome in a way if everything had that human touch. And again, going back to AI, we're getting to the point where AI is learning from us, right? We can train AI to sound like us so that it's bringing that human touch into what we're doing. But that still takes you infusing your personality, your voice into what AI is doing for you. And of course, systems can be designed a lot faster. They can be implemented a lot faster through the help of AI. I know this is just a quick example, but I literally did this at the beginning of this week. I gave ChatGPT, here's everything that I need to get done this week. These are my priorities. This is what I already have on my calendar. I need help designing my schedule for this week because I knew my schedule was going to be more booked than it typically is. And so it gave me recommendations based off of how I wanted to design my schedule, that I wanted to time block. I wanted to also relate similar tasks together. And I wanted to be as productive and efficient with my time as possible. So I gave it my schedule, I gave it my criteria, and it designed my entire schedule for me for this entire week and helped me stay on task. Did it get executed perfectly? No, but I used AI to really help me design a system that I could follow. And so as you're thinking about applying AI or technology automation to anything in your business, you don't want to just like hand it over completely to the tech to do all of the work for you. I think we see this a lot in automations, like dripping on your leads, for example, with automated email and text message campaigns is great. But we also want to get it. If somebody's responding and they're asking a question, you're getting in there, you're responding to that. You're jumping on the phone and doing phone calls in addition to what the automation is doing. So again, it's like, don't have lazy processes. Make sure that you're in conjunction looking at the process itself, leveraging what you can with AI, but that you're not totally removing yourself or that human aspect out of it.
It's a tool, right? And it's an enhancement. Allows you to make sure you can get more of that personal touch in and more of an effect because you're saving time, effort by utilizing it. It's not a replacement, and that will actually be who gets good results versus, it actually hurts them in their brand and their business by thinking it's just going to replace everything as a part of that. So that human touch is never going away. In fact, like we said, for this year, it's getting even more and more important. So let's bring that back in. So that's what's in for 2025. Elle, we got it.
Yeah. So let's close it out here with our final takeaways and leave you guys with.
All right. So these are the tactical shifts agents need to make immediately. So these are the things we've been talking about today. So the first one is start going from chasing to attracting, right? We want to stop chasing down and begging people to, talk to us and then much less work with us. And we want to attract them where they're begging to work with us.
And we also want to replace that very transactional approach and hard scripting with more frameworks for having better conversations with low pressure ways for people to interact with us and to learn more about us, to interact with our personal brand on social media.
We want to post with intention, not obligation. We want to have a strategy to what we're doing on social and what we're doing, not just taking some standard piece of content. Well, I got to get my piece of content posted each day and let me just grab from hearsay, right? So post with intention and use social to enhance the brand, the relationship, not just because you feel like you have to.
And use AI to speed up the processes, especially on things that you hate to do. Use technology automation as much as possible on those things, but do not lose that human touch and what makes you you.
Create content themes to create consistency without overwhelm. Now, if I kind of planned out themes and I should have my same drums I'm beating on for my business of the important things that I do and how I do them, and I create these themes, then I can do a lot of different things off these themes while still getting my core points across and what I do and how I help. And that also helps it feel not as overwhelming, like I have to do all of these things. I can stick to my core pieces of like value and importance that I'm imparting just in different ways. And that'll help it feel a little bit easier when you're doing your content as well.
Love it. And you want to make sure that you have a plan to build relationships. We talked about getting that visibility and making connections with people. Make sure you have a weekly referral outreach plan so that you are reaching out to the either referral partners or people that have influence. Maybe that's people that have audience that you want to connect with, and mapping out those touch points and that you're executing that regularly.
And finally, double down on the platforms where your audience actually is. If you have a platform that you're getting engagement, it's effective, continue building and double down on that versus trying to do a million different platforms at once. We always tell our clients this as well, that trying to build on a lot of different platforms is crazy hard, exponentially hard than building on one, being effective, and then continuing growing there as well. So double down on platform, be very, very effective with it before you start looking to expand to others. It's just a lot easier to do. And that's where your audience already is, right?
Yeah. So if you want to win in 2025, stop holding on to what used to work and embrace these shifts that are happening in technology. You guys, we are living in a time and space that we have never lived in before. Like, whenever in history Could you get a message out to hundreds, thousands, potentially even millions of people with one video, one piece of content? We have so much opportunity, so much access. It is time to really start taking advantage of the tools that we have available to us.
Be visible, valuable, and consistent in all parts of your business. That's key thing for 2025.
Yep. And you really want to think about investing in those systems and your relationships, not being transactional, and your personal brand.
So start now, not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, right? Action breeds results. So like we always say with this, if you're going to sit here, you're going to listen to this podcast, you're going to learn, put it in place, take action, even if it's one thing from today. Otherwise, you're not the best use of your time. Listen to this. You could have been doing it using with something else, right? So put things into place, take action today. So once again, where can they get resources? Where can they get that survival guide? Apparently it's not just hatchets and matches. It's actually how they can grow their insurance business. Where can they go get that?
Head on over to jumpstartgonow.com/podcast to get all of the resources that we mentioned here, as well as your own marketing survival guide for 2025.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today on the Modern Insurance Agents podcast. Stay tuned for the next one.